Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we are being joined by Dr. Carey Yazeed, author of Lipstick, Heels, and Hustle. Dr. Carey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, I am.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would say just write it. Don't overthink it. Just do a brain dump and then go back and piece it all together. I see a lot of people, they just stop, like they'll write and stop, read, go back, change stuff, and it never gets complete. So my advice is just do a brain dump. Let it all come on out. And then once you can't write anymore, that means that you're finished writing. Go back and review what you have and start to help it to make sense at that point.
Well, that is sage advice, because that's the main thing. Just get it done and then let the editors clean it up. That's what we're paying for, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think the hardest part would be the no's. And so when I first started out as a writer, I received a lot of no's. I am also the type of person that I take those negatives and turn them into a positive. And so that is why I started my own publishing company. And so I took the no's and said, okay, I'll do it myself. And from there, I actually became a best-selling author.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
One strategy that I have used to market my book is to build up my email list. And I know people hear this over and over again, but your email list is like golden because they have given you permission to actually share information with them. And they usually are your biggest cheerleaders. So if you have that email list, you know right then and there that you're automatically going to have sales. So I say your marketing needs to start there.
And what strategies do you have for email list building?
For email list building, I will do webinars that relate to the books that I have written to get people to sign up for my email list. So the webinar might be free, or it might even be a low-cost webinar like $20. But once they give me their email address, and then I feed them all of this knowledge and this value and this information, they want more. And so I think that is very, very sometimes we get caught up in all these making a handout and doing this and doing that and trying to create all these different things when you can just take the information you have, do a webinar, and just share information as it relates to the book that you have coming out.
And why do you feel that everyone should make building that email list their primary focus, especially with getting started?
Because social media, you do not own the rights to it. And so you might have a big following on social media, but Facebook goes down at least once a month now. And so, when those sites crash or they go out of business, which we saw with MySpace, There goes your following.
Absolutely. Same thing with Amazon, too. When your book's out there, just because people are buying the book doesn't mean that we get their information. So the only way that we can get that info is by giving something of value in the book, like a checklist or a preview of another book or some sort of guide to help them. And they can get that for free in return for their email address, so you can start building that list up.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
I would say that my favorite book of all times has actually been because I'm a reader. I read a lot. I liked Contagious as a business book. And I like Contagious because it helps you to think outside of the box when it comes to getting your product out there and making your product kind of catch on. And I guess with all the stuff we have going on right now, contagious might not be the best word. But just kind of like, what we have like with the flu and the cold, and some things can become contagious, the coronavirus. Your book can be the same thing, but there's certain steps that you have to take, and you kind of have to think in a different way. And I don't think, a lot of us take all of those steps into consideration. And, we feel all we have to do is just write the book and people are going to come. But Contagious really gets you to think outside of the box. So that would be my number one. And my number two would be Guerrilla Marketing.
And tell us a little bit more about guerrilla marketing, because there's so many different ways that is interpreted, and I'm a huge believer in it. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I love guerrilla marketing. I actually used guerrilla marketing for my very first book that I wrote, and that was the book that became a bestseller. And guerrilla marketing just gives you these far-fetched ideas on how to get your book out there and get your book into the hands of readers. And one tip that they gave that I actually tried and it worked was I took a copy of my book, and when I was in the airport, I left it in one of the gift shops. And so somebody purchased it. And when they purchased it, actually the gift shop, they scan the barcode and that puts it into their system. And so from there, they think like, oh, well, somebody forgot to put this in the system. And really they didn't. And that's how you can get them to actually start buying your books.
Nice. And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is by Shirley Chisholm, and it is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I think that is my favorite quote because we're always waiting for others to give us permission. And sometimes we just have to kind of, as women, we have to get over ourselves, speak up, speak out, and be bold. And sometimes that means being a little aggressive too. So, pull up a folding chair, ask everybody to scoot over, squeeze in, and make room for yourself.
Well, Dr. Carey, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show today. What is the best way for people to find you online?
I am very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter, and you can also check out my podcast, which is Beauty, Brains, and Business. And we have a website, which is thebeautybrainsandbusiness.com. So that's where you can find me and all of the things that I have going on.
Dr. Carey, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.